and welcome to episode 78
of Mo Money,
the investing and economics show for millennials by a millennial, where our goal is to educate, entertain, and empower a new generation of investors. I am the host that you all know and love, MC Mo. Now let's get to the money. This week we're going to continue talking about retirement because that is basically what this entire show is about. In particular, we're going to discuss the contrast between two pieces that were recently published. The first was a study conducted by TD Ameritrade where they polled 1,500 millennials ages 21 to 37 about when they expected to retire. The study found that on average the respondents said they plan to retire at 56 years old. This is incredibly hopeful considering since the 60s the average retirement age has been about 60 to 65 years old. Then we have a counter to that millennial optimism with an article on Politico that states millennial retirement is a potential crisis, and not only is 56 out of the question, but 60, even 65 may be off the table as well. So this week we're going to discuss when are you going to be able to retire? Following up on last week's episode, we already know the best time to start saving for retirement is as soon as possible. That is because the more time you have money working and compounding in a retirement account, the more money that you will have for you when you're ready to retire. So when you are going to be able to retire has a lot to do with when you start saving. That same TD Ameritrade study said that not only do millennials plan on retiring at 56, but they also don't plan on starting to save until they're 36 years old. Again, unless you're making a six-figure salary, this is a very unlikely possibility. So why is it what retirement will be like for millennials is so unclear? Well, first we start with the obvious fact of student loans. The average millennial graduate leaves college with around $37,000 in student loan debt, which has prevented millennials from accruing assets at the same pace of previous generations. Another problem is wage stagnation. Wages have not been increasing much since the financial crisis, which means the earnings of millennials have not been keeping up with the increase in inflation, rent, food, and other expenses. A third potential issue is Social Security, which has been reported to go bankrupt by the year 2034. Others say it'll never go bankrupt, but promised payouts may decrease by as much as 25% by the time that we get around to retiring. Either way, millennials are not likely going to be able to depend on Social Security to the same extent that previous generations have depended upon it. So how much should you have saved for retirement? Well, it's difficult to predict. There is no magic number that I can just give you, and expenses change so much throughout your lifetime as you get older. You have kids, you buy a home, fast forward, the kids move out, you pay off your mortgage, then your health starts to slip. The best plan is the 80% rule, which means you should have enough to replace 80% of your pre-retirement annual income. Again, this is difficult to predict as you are young and your career choices may change, and it's difficult enough to guess what your life will be like in 30 years, let alone what your income will be. So in the meantime, the best way is to try and save 10% of your annual salary and increase the 10% the older that you get. Bottom line, millennials realistically will not be able to retire comfortably until our late 60s or early 70s. One reason being is that life expectancy is expected to increase. It is currently at 78 years old in the United States, and some predictions have it between 85 and 90 years old by the year 2050. So it's not crazy to think that our generation may need to work a little longer if we are expected to live a little longer. Also, there is healthcare costs, which are increases, meaning that we will need to save more money to pay for them. Where it is like what I discussed before. Millennials have not begun saving or accruing enough assets at the same rate as previous generations, meaning we may need to work longer. We may be able to wind down working hours or switch jobs completely in our 60s to that of a part-time job, but in order to retire comfortably, it's difficult to see how our generation will be able to retire at the current average of 63 years old, let alone at the optimistic 56 years old. Like I said earlier, the best way to retire younger is to begin saving earlier. And it's important to revisit your savings and make sure that you are on pace to be able to retire to make your goals a reality. So if you have plans of retiring on a beach, drinking and reading all day, the best way is start saving for retirement as soon as possible. But also be prepared to make it there a little later on in life than you had previously expected. Thank you so much for watching another episode. You can find new and classic episodes of Mo Money right here on YouTube. For now, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, like me on Facebook. Mo Money, signing out.